let's talk about Lake McRee. This was a big game for him. 2 receptions, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. I have a pretty crazy stat for you. This is the first time Lake McRee has had a touchdown against a team not called Stanford. That is a real stat for you.
Lake McRee has never had a touchdown against it. What?
Yeah, Lake McRee has never had a touchdown.
Never had touchdowns against Stanford?
Yeah. It's like
that sounds like a made-up stat. That's so ridiculous.
No, it's true. Because he didn't
put you on blast for a second because you said Lake McRee was headed for All-American status before he was injured last year.
We're looking for hot takes, man. That was my hot take. The tight end room did not have a single touchdown last year across the board. He had his most recent touchdown before the one on Saturday was against Stanford in week 2 because USC had a week 0 game back in 2023. In 2022, he had a touchdown in week 2 against Stanford at the Farm. And then in 2021, I believe he only played in 3 games. Yeah, Bleacher Stat is correct. So he's only had 3 touchdowns ever, and 2 of them have been against, 2 of them now have been against Stanford and 1 against Missouri State.
Okay, no more Lake McRee talk. No disrespect, but no more Lake McRee talk. Let's talk about Casey. I told you I had some ideas of superlatives of who did the best what, who did this. You are unprepared for this. I'm just going to throw these at you. You're going to answer these questions. So, Casey, I want to ask you, and there's probably one obvious answer that you'll go with. Who was the best player for USC?
It's a really good question. It's hard to answer. It's a good question because we only saw the starters for about a half of the game.
Yeah.
I want to go. I want to say my honorable mentions Alani Noah because he blocked very well on the right side. I'm going to go Jayden Mayava, though. I know it's sort of like a lazy answer, but this is his first time starting for USC in week 1. I know it's a weaker opponent, but it's a lot to ask out of him. And he really looked good. Like, he was not making dumb reads. He had that one bad throw where he should have had a touchdown to Mekhi Lemon. And then we really would have been talking Blitnikoff, probably even more seriously because that's, 30 yards to Mekhi.
Yeah.
But I really did think that, Jayden Mayava played well. And his expectations are high, but he doesn't have to play like Caleb Williams if USC wants to win this year. How about you, though?
I'll go with someone else because Jayden Mayava, obviously fantastic. I mentioned him before, but Kameryn Fountain. I think you could throw any of those D-line guys in just because, and they're talking about it in the chat, but they rotate so many of them in and out, and that speaks to the depth. There's a lot of talent on that defensive line. We've been saying for weeks, months now, that it is the most talented group, at least I think. I don't know about you. I think it's the most talented group USC has position group-wise. So I thought it was Kameryn Fountain, though. He really just impressed me about his ability to get into the backfield, quarterback, running back, whoever it was. He was always there. I love seeing him, and I think he's going to take a leap once we play real teams. Let's talk, though, Casey. Who do you think had an under-the-radar great game? Because obviously Mayava was the Big Ten Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week. Who do you think played well who isn't getting enough attention?
Yeah, I mean, man, just looking at my notes here, I honestly I think the running back room as a whole, like King Miller, I know he had the flashy touchdown, but King Miller was a guy that most USC fans probably didn't know who he was before this week because he is the 4th running back on the depth chart. And like, no disrespect to Brian Jackson, but I think it's very clear that Brian Jackson's role is very carved out. He's going to get touches when USC is inside the 20, inside the 10, counting in.
Yeah.
Or, he's basically a fullback on like a 4th and 2. I think I want to say King Miller. I also brought up earlier Alani Noah, starting right guard for USC. He was the highest rated PFF offensive lineman for USC this week. I also want to go with Jamaal Jarrett as well, though. I feel like his size, his pressure he brings, his USC debut. I mean, the dude's 6'5", 360 pounds. He is huge. And it's one of those things where he's not poorly conditioned either. And it really showed in this game. He has like pretty good, agility and movement for a guy that big. How about you, though?
I think Ja was a great. That was going to be my pick. I thought he was great. I'm going Jide Absari. I think that I'm staying with the D line just because I think the guys like the Braylan Shelbys we mentioned had 2 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss. Jide Absari was fantastic. He was really great getting into the backfield, getting pressure on the quarterback. I overall was just incredibly impressed of what he was able to do. And of course, like all of them on that defensive line. 1 sack. Was that his first career sack, if I'm not mistaken?
I don't know. I mean, probably because he was at Georgia last year. Yeah, only 3 tackles last year at Georgia. That was his first year playing because he redshirted his first year. So yeah, I mean, he only had 3 tackles in 11 games last year, which just kind of shows he didn't play all that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, making a bigger role for himself.
Yeah, 100%.